What's going on? Welcome to the first ever live Get Paid for Your Pet podcast episode. So me and Eric decided to switch it up instead of just recording it and publishing it on the podcast. We decided it'd be fun to actually give people a chance to watch us live. And now we got this we got the studio set up here. We got the nice camera. We got a good microphone. We know what we're doing. So yeah, this is gonna be really fun. Right now, there's so much going on with the coronavirus, of course. That when you record something and you publish it a couple days later, everything is already changed, right? Yeah. So we realized that we need live information, we need live stuff, and so that's why we decided to do this. And I'm super excited. My first podcast live guest is my buddy Tom Sargent over here. Tom, what's up, man?
Jasper, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you, man. So Tom is one of our students in the Short-Term Rental Profit Academy. He is in Boston. He runs 7 short-term rental units, 5 long-term units. And what we're going to be talking about today is, how this whole crisis is impacting Tom, and also what he's doing to survive, essentially, right? So Tom, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you taking the time to be on here with us.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, man. It's been pretty hectic the last few days, huh?
Oh, man, this is the craziest time in my life. I can tell you that. This is nuts, man. You want to give us a little bit of background on how you got started with all of this?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to you and Eric for staying optimistic, keeping us connected. I find the community really helpful to just, bounce questions out, see what people are doing in other parts of the country, the world, etc. So myself, my name's Tom. I'm from the Boston area. I got involved. I have a degree in hospitality management from before, and then from right out of college, I was working at a long-term property management company called Avalon. So they're around the U.S. They're pretty big. So I got my experience and my feet wet with property management through that. After that, though, I wasn't passionate to work in the corporate world for me, so I did some traveling while I was kind of making up my mind on what I wanted to do. And while I was traveling, I was staying in Airbnbs all around the world, and just really got appealed and drawn to that kind of business. And, with my previous experience and then my interest in traveling and meeting new people and, all that kind of stuff, I really, Airbnb and short-term rentals was kind of something that was drawn to me. So that's how I kind of jumped into it. I got home about 9 months ago is when I started my business. Word of mouth, created marketing material. It's how I partnered up with my first partner. What I'm doing right now in the short-term rental is the co-hosting model, where I manage it for a percentage of the income, which luckily I did that. I know a lot of people are struggling in the arbitrage model right now during this crisis. So I don't have the same overhead problems that I know other people do, but definitely problems for sure, as you can imagine. And then one of my partners owns a portfolio where we're kind of doing some short term, some long term as well. So that's why I have my feet wet and kind of in both markets.
Yeah, for sure, man. And this is why we've been promoting the co-hosting model, the management model over in the last year or so, is because there's a lot less risk, right? We have a lot of people in our community right now who are having some challenges with their leases, right? And there's solutions, and we see people being very creative with it and with talking to the landlords and making deals and stuff. But we're also seeing people in our communities that are not getting very positive responses to that from their landlords. So the management model is not as risky. So that's good. That's good, man. That you're that at least you don't have any angry landlords chasing you. But yeah, let's kind of walk us through what you've been experiencing in the last couple of weeks since I think the day that really sort of everything got really, really bad was when Trump announced the cancellations that he wouldn't for the Europeans, right? He wouldn't let Europeans in the country anymore.
Yeah,
I think that's when we started seeing the cancellations. No,
that was like the second wave of cancellations for me. Our local governor Baker, he put a state of emergency in order a few days before that European travel ban was in place. I think Boston was one of the first cities in America that was affected by an international meeting that caused a lot of cases. So our state took it serious right off the bat, and one of the first ones. So we had a state emergency blanket on the whole state, which caused, I don't know, upwards of $10,000 of cancellation within 2 to 3 days, and that was just across 4 or 5 properties that I've managed. So I felt it right off the bat, and then once the European travel ban came, that was pretty much the rest of April and definitely the rest of March, most of the April bookings, and then through the summer as well. Once events, we have the Boston Marathon coming up. Spring and summertime is pretty popular here in the East. And once events just started getting canceled, that was it. Everybody started canceling. So yeah, we've a few strategies that we put into place. Definitely talking with the community over there. The profit group has been helping me put some strategy into place, but changing the marketing material, gearing it towards 2-week stays, slashing prices is the obvious one. Restructuring photos, restructuring descriptions, what you're putting in the photo descriptions on top of your Airbnb description has helped get some rebookings. But again, this is at a small, much lower rate than what we normally would have expected. So something that I'm really focusing on now, especially in the market in Boston, is advertising directly to medical staff. And some of the ways I'm doing this is creating listings on other platforms, such as there are specific platforms for the medical world. Furnished Finders is one of them. I've been getting some demand, but no signed leases through that platform as of yet. Facebook has been good. There's been there are a lot of groups out there, whether it's just travel nurses in the entire country or specific to your region. I found that there's a lot of communication going on in those groups. So just getting involved and trying to come off as not as somebody who is greedy during this time is something that I'm really trying to focus on. I don't want to be the person that says like, oh, in this time, nurses are going to make more money, so I want to get more money from nurses. That's not my intention. Something that I'm really trying to focus on is helping the medical community. So for example, I've also created new listings. So for example, in this one building, I'll have 4 listings for short term, stay up minimum 1 day. I've duplicated all 4 of those for minimum 30 days. So I have 2 listings. I've imported the calendars to each. I've synced to both calendars, so those are accurate. And on the second listing, the longer term, I've specifically are saying, 13-week stay discounts. And that is because most travel nurses contract when they start is around 13 weeks. I write travel nurse discounts for medical staff. In the description, I write like, we appreciate you doing what you do. You're on the front line. You're fighting this crisis. From my standpoint, I don't see the day-to-day life in a hospital, right? Like I'm just cooped up in my bedroom now that we can't really leave and do much around here. So I'm on the front line. I think it's really important to show support for these people because everything's changing so quick that we only really, you can look at a simple mind and just say like, oh, my Airbnb business, my short-term rental business, my property management business is being affected. This is not the only business. This is not the only thing getting affected. This is everybody is involved. So I think keeping that in mind has been important, and just trying to relate to the customer that you're trying to appeal to has been helpful for me. I've had a lot of demand with nurses and just helping them on price. I'm not slashing it to a point where I'm going to be losing money, but I want to be able to help them out and also help out the partners, the landlords that I team up with. And they're on board for this, which is making it easier for my management side of things as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. In these difficult times, we you see that people are kind of coming together, and everyone understands that this is going to affect everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some businesses, of course, that are that are kind of getting a lot of new signups right now. I mean, we're using Zoom right now to communicate, right? I mean, you look at the Zoom stock price; it's going through the roof. But I think everybody understands that this is a challenge that we have to solve like together as a community, and this is not the time to try and maximize your profit. This is the time to make sure that you're not losing money, so you get your costs back. But at the same time, you also want to, like you said, you want to really focus on, who is in need of accommodation right now. How can I serve their needs the best I can? And how can I do that in a way that works for them, that works for me, and it works for, your partners, right? I think that's the way that we get through this whole thing. And I think everybody has that mentality. Then we can do great things together. So definitely appreciate the advice that you're sharing as well about how to get in touch with these travel nurses. What are some other things that you're doing in order to kind of maintain occupancy on your units?
Yeah. So first things first, I've reached out to any guest who has not canceled yet. I really want to make sure that the next 3 months my exposure is accurate. I don't want to lose out on any 3 to 6 month rentals because of a booking that's going to cancel regardless. So I'm reaching out to everybody in the next probably 6 months and asking them if they're still planning on coming, seeing what their plans are, offering them to reschedule, hopefully, giving them a discount in the future if they're not comfortable rescheduling at this time. So trying to maintain some contact with these customers, right? And then once I'm confident that these calendars are accurate, with the future bookings, then I'm really targeting on the travel nurses and specifically starting in April. So before that, because with travel nurses, they are really not confident on their contracts until about a week before they start, sometimes even less given the situation. So it's really tough to market them for a May move-in start date because they don't even know what's going on next week. So
Right.
you need to be able to market them to move in very quickly. And so I've been really slashing prices, but I haven't been slashing prices more than 2 weeks out because I don't want travelers to book for a week when I could potentially offer that space to a 3 month rental. So that's something that it's kind of nerve-wracking to the landlord, seeing so much vacancy in the future months, but it's something that I'm confident that will pay off when you keep a whole 2-3 month vacancy open. I'm confident that we're going to be finding customers that are going to be interested in that vacancy. But yeah, some of the tactics, like I mentioned before, updating all the listings, updating the titles, mentioning the cleanliness of the stay, mentioning travel nurses specifically, just really gearing your listing towards that clientele. So in my case, I'm looking for travel nurses, right? So I'll go on Google. What do travel nurses want? What are they looking for? So, for example, blackout shades. A lot of them carry pets. So if you can offer pet friendly accommodation, you got to stand out. Luckily, right now, I've moved recently into a friend's house, and his sister lives here, and she's a travel nurse as well. So she's been able to give me some personal tips of what she looks for when she's working, and what her friends and coworkers are looking for. And it's a large industry where you have you have the range, you have your low budget just looking for a shared room, all the way up to a married couple with a family. So but it's just be specific on the audience that you're going to target, and you will appeal to them, and stay on top of that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how in the scope of a couple of weeks, we completely have to shift our marketing efforts, right? Whereas before we're targeting travelers, we're targeting vacationers, and now suddenly, that's dried up almost completely. And, we don't really want to encourage people to just, go on a holiday right now anyway. We want to really focus on who needs accommodation right now that contributes to us solving the bigger problem of this coronavirus right now. And we really have to rethink our strategy, right? Because there are a lot of people that are looking for a place to stay, right? Even if I look at myself, I have a flight in a couple of weeks back to Amsterdam. And, I spoke to my parents, and they're like, hey, you should come stay with us for a couple of weeks. And I'm like, I'm definitely not going to stay with you guys because, I might catch this thing on the plane, right? And so the last thing I want to do 100%. Is pass it on to my parents who are like, in their 70s, right? So what am I going to do when I get to Amsterdam? Like, I'm probably going to look on Airbnb and see if I can quarantine myself for a couple of weeks. So there's a lot of people like myself. There's students that are getting stranded as well because they can go back to their campuses. I think it was just spring break was that like a week ago or something? I've
Yeah,
been
it was about
seeing
a week ago.
reports of yeah, I've been seeing reports of people saying that they're getting a lot of bookings from students who went on spring break and now they can't go back to their campus because the university's closed. And especially international students, they don't want to go back to wherever they came from because nobody wants to travel right now. They'll probably have the same concerns as I have, like I don't want to pass on this thing to family. So a lot of them are kind of stranded and they're looking for a place to stay. So yeah, it's just crazy how quickly this all went. And what I've seen in our communities is that people like yourself who are not panicking and just doing what they need to do in order to adapt, right? Because
Yeah.
those who adapt fast, they're starting to pick up all these new bookings from people who need it, right? But you can't wait too long because those who are moving first, they're going to pick up the demand that's out there right now.
No, 100%. I think that goes with anything that goes wrong in life, right? Like you have two options. You can sit there and complain about it, or you can, turn your energy and focus into how to handle it, how to get through it, how to turn a
Yeah,
negative into a positive. Staying optimistic is definitely
yeah,
an important thing at this time. I wanted to touch base on something about the longer term rentals with my model. So there's a hurdle that some people will probably encounter, and you have a management percentage for the co-model um, business, right? And that's based on short-term stays. So from a landlord standpoint, if you have somebody come in for 6 months, why would the landlord want to pay you 25% of that booking? If I was a landlord, I wouldn't. So I guess you can be transparent from the beginning and reach out to the landlord and explain this to them and see if you can come to agreement beforehand before they become, angry at you for expecting 25% of a 6-month booking. So what I'm doing is with my partners is I'm sitting down, I'm talking to them and saying, this is my management fee for what we're doing now. And I understand that in a 6-month booking, there's less management, right? You're not doing the cleaning, you're not handling cleaners every week or every other day or whatever the situation may be. That I'm negotiating with them and doing a tier percentage management agreement. So we've actually restructured some of our contracts. So I'll keep the same percentage for a 0 to 90-day booking. And then from a 3-month to 6-month booking, I'll lower my percentage rate on that. And then from 6-month to 9-month, I'll lower it even more. And then if we do get a 9-month plus, then it's even lower. In my experience so far, I think this is helping my image as a business with these landlords. They're trusting me even more. They're seeing me out there. They know that nobody could have saw this coming or control it from now on, but they see me being not only proactive about how to get guests back in there, but also transparent with them. I'm not trying to screw them. They're the ones with the overhead. They're the ones with the mortgage. And if you piss them off, then I don't really have a business. You know what I mean? So that's something that I've also found to be helpful from a business side of things, not for the customer side, but for definitely from the management side.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate to that because I own a penthouse in Colombia, right, in
Mhm.
Cali. And by the way, if anybody wants to stay there, let me know because I have a lot of
maybe
bookings
in a
right
few
now.
months. Hopefully
Well,
in a few months.
the problem is like they closed the borders, so you can't actually get into the country. But also there's a rule that you can't allow people to stay for less than 14 days or something. It's kind of crazy. I was talking to my management company because I work with a management company down there, and so I wear two hats, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm a host, but also I'm also a property owner. So
It's perfect though. You see
yeah,
both sides of it.
yeah, for sure. But so that's why I can relate to you because I'm reaching out to everybody I know, even now on this podcast, to see if somebody wants to rent my place. And so if I find a friend or something who wants to stay in my place for 6 months, then I'm not going to pay the full management fee to my property
Of
management
course.
company, right? Because I'm going to be like, hey, I found this person myself, or even if they find it, it's like you don't really have to do anything. So
Yep.
so yeah, I totally get that. So I think it's smart that you're being like upfront and transparent with your landlords, and I think this is something that's really important in in business or in anything you do in life when it involves other people. I think the long term strategy is always to always focus on the relationship, right? Always
Yeah.
focus on like bring value to the other person, because those relationships over time are just like the most valuable thing you can have in life, right? So I think that's a great mentality that you have there. So what's been the response from the landlords?
Yeah. The first their first reaction was go long term, don't look back. Um, but when that situation, I mean, he's invested money into the furnishing. We've invested time and effort into creating reputations on these platforms for the short term. And I'm expecting the worst, right? I'm planning on this lasting a long time, at least financially. But I'm staying optimistic. I'm hoping this will die down real soon. And at this time, we're seeing a lot of players in the short term rental game switch to long term. So that market's saturated. And that's what I'm explaining to these landlords is listen, to go completely focus on long term, you're going to have more competition. You're going to get less rent. And what if you sign off for a 12 or an 18-month lease and this does slow down in a month or two? So now you're stuck on that 12-month rent income where we could be getting more. But again, it's a risk, right? So that's why I'm offering that those tier percentages is let's try to market a little bit to both. Let's look for that 3 to 6 month rental. That's going to generate more income for the landlord. That's going to generate more income for me because my percentages are higher from a 3 to 6 month rental than it is at a 12-month rental. And that's also going to leave us in a good position that if this does slow down, if the virus does come to a halt and everything becomes normal in 6 months time, then we're going to have the inventory to switch right back to short-term rental. So that's something that I do think is important as well, is kind of keeping both options a little open and seeing what comes. I mean, if somebody comes and gives us a 12-month offer that is good and covers the cost plus some for the next 12 months, it'd be stupid to say no. But at least we're keeping part of our portfolio and part of the inventory available in case this does slow down.
Yeah, for sure.
There's
And
a,
sorry, what you want to?
I was saying there's just a lot of uncertainty and everybody's situation is a little bit different, right? So you really have to figure out what works best for you. But I feel like that's a good strategy for me in my business right now.
Yeah, for sure, and it depends on the market as well, right? Because we see in some remote markets, we actually see people still doing really really well. I remember reading that there's a lot of demand for places in the Hamptons right now, as all the people from New York City are trying to escape to a remote place, right? So I think in the sort of the traditional vacation rental markets, people might actually be doing well through this crisis. But I think for the urban markets, such as where you are in Boston, um,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of short-term rental supply is going to come off the market, and it's going to go into long-term rentals, which might be a good thing for people that are adapting fast, such as yourself, people who have high standards when it comes to hospitality. Because when you get through this, you're going to see that there's when travel starts coming back, there's not as much a supply, and so there's an opportunity to take some market share there. But also, I think it might be a good thing because there's so much opposition against short-term rentals in cities, because people are they blame the rents going up. They blame that on short-term rentals. There's certain neighborhoods where there's a lot of Airbnbs, and people kind of feel like the vibe in the neighborhood is changing. So actually, having some inventory come off in these urban markets might actually be a good thing for the short-term rental industry in the long term, as the people who are offering very high standards of hospitality, they're running their business, they're taking the business very serious, and also there might be a little bit less resistance from the neighborhood people who live in the neighborhoods as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm also managing. So I mentioned I have 7 Airbnb apartments that I'm managing now. 4 of them are in the urban Boston market. 3 of them are actually in a destination area, which is very seasonal. It's a very summer destination in Newport, Rhode Island. And we've had a few cancellations. It's a big wedding destination, bachelorette party kind of situation where obviously most weddings are getting canceled or postponed. So in the immediate future, those are getting canceled, and trying to figure out how to market and get some bookings there because it's a totally different market than the urban in Boston, of course.
Mm.
Something that I'm noticing is they're trying to shut down hotels. They're really trying to cancel short-term travel in these areas, these remote areas where hospitals aren't up to par as a city is. So if there is an outbreak, they're going to be, affected, I think, a lot more, or possibly affected a lot more. So trying to respect the local community as well is like, so right now I'm talking to the landlord, and we've agreed to just shut it down for a month or two. We don't make a lot of money during April and March and April there anyways, but it's going to be a conversation that we'll have to revisit come May, depending on the situation. But yeah, I don't want to expose a smaller time community that could be really affected by an outbreak like that, with people coming from larger cities who could be carrying it or whatever it may
Mm.
be. So I can't speak on strategies on how to fill vacancies in remote areas. That's just something that I've chosen to do is shut it down for a month and revisit it. We're going to be redecorating it, painting it, do some maintenance to it, and hopefully improving it for the summer rentals. I've also reached out to other to local people in the area, asking if anybody has any family that needs housing for an extended amount of time, like reach out and stuff like that. Again, it's only 3 units, and I haven't had anybody jump on it yet, but that is something that I'm concentrating on as well.
So Boston, where you are, was one of the first cities to get hit by this, right? Do you think you guys are a little bit ahead of the curve? And so, do you think that when you guys will start seeing improvements before the rest of the country?
I mean, I'm not a medical professional, so it's something that I can't really confidently answer for you. We're not affected nearly as bad as other larger cities like New York or San Francisco, or LA, but we are. I think as of yesterday, we're up to like 700 cases or so. It's been increasing, and we're a smaller city that we're kind of seeing what we're kind of mirroring what cities like New York and LA are doing. So, for example, we're shutting down all non-essential businesses tomorrow, where New York has done that a few days ago. So we're kind of like right behind them.
Mm.
So I can kind of gauge what we're about to do based on what other larger cities with more cases are already doing. And I've even seen in some areas, you might have seen this as well, where all short-term rentals are being banned. Hotels are being forced to shut down by the government, where unless you're a medical professional. So that's another reason why I'm really sticking to my medical professional strategy here in Boston. Is that if that does come down here in Boston, which I'm going to expect the worst, is at least I'm protected if I do have some people with a job in the medical field that I can continue to rent to them.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We've seen that happen in a couple markets where Airbnb is apparently not even taking new bookings anymore. And in some markets also, people are reporting that people under the age of 25 can't book
Yeah, I saw that as well.
if it's last minute booking. One workaround apparently is to change a listing from entire home to private room.
Good
That's
tip.
apparently
Good tip.
apparently that works. I might have to.
You're saying is to prevent parties, right?
Yeah, I think it all got
That's
kicked off actually a few months ago. There was a shooting, I think, in Toronto.
yeah.
I could be wrong on this, but if I recall correctly, there was a shooting in Toronto, and that led Airbnb to cancel or not to allow people under the age of 25 to book within 48 hours before check-in.
Yep.
And so I think I'm not sure if that. This is actually not. They didn't come up with this because of the coronavirus. I think this is caused by this incident that happened in Toronto. But it's just one of the things that we see that hosts are reporting is that they'll get an inquiry, and then either they can't book because they're under 25, or they can't book because Airbnb is deemed or short-term rentals is deemed a non-essential business in certain areas, and so they're not, Airbnb isn't allowing any bookings at all in those
Hmm.
areas, and so that's really tricky, right? So I think what you're doing is smart, focusing on the travel nurses. So me and Eric have actually been working nonstop over the weekend, to pull all the information that we've gathered over the last couple of weeks, and we put it in one document. And we added a bunch of resources. One of the resources that we added is actually a list of travel nurse companies and contact details, and an
Oh,
email
nice.
swipe copy, so that people can directly reach out to these companies and let them know, like, hey, I've got a furnished space, and like you said, like, let them know like why it's a good fit for a nurse. You have blackout curtains. You provide what they call eye masks. You have a
Yep.
fully equipped kitchen, so they can cook and they don't have to don't have to go to restaurants, stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, so we're actually releasing that today. So if you're watching this
Looking
now or
forward
you're
to it. Yeah.
listening, yeah, we're gonna well you're gonna get it, as you're a member of our inner circle, so you're gonna get everything that we create. But for the people out there watching or listening to this, we're gonna send out an email today, with information how you can get this, what we call the Corona Survival Kit, how you can get that,
Nice.
and we also have a special offer for people to actually join our inner circle. We've really created a pretty amazing offer, because we realize right now it's like, it's not the time to be charging top dollar. So we're gonna, our goal is to help as many people as possible. So we put a pretty competitive offer in there. So anyway, that's if you're not on our email list, just sign up at getpaidforyourpad.com, and you'll be able to get the kit. So let's see, what else should we talk about, Tom? What do you have any
Yeah, I think
advice for people out
another
there?
thing I haven't mentioned before, but I think as you're seeing Airbnb fully refund guests, and I've learned from this experience to try not to heavily rely on one platform. It feels like Airbnb kind of has a monopoly over us hosts and has a tight grip. In a situation like this, is kind of have a it's an uphill battle for us for sure.
Mm.
So what I'm trying to focus on now, on top of creating more listings targeting travel nurses on Airbnb, but also creating other marketing material. So a personal website, a Facebook page, something that's localized, where, and you're also dealing with 3-month rentals where the guests are paying a lot higher fees on Airbnb when they book for a 3-month rental, that they don't want to pay that fee either. So I think it's important to create other ways for guests to reach out to you and book it off the platform, where they're avoiding those fees and you're gaining more of a business, right? You're creating more of a pipeline on your own end, where you're not becoming solely reliant on an Airbnb platform.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And I think that's going to be one of the things that comes out of this crisis, is that people are going to have a lot of hosts right now having a kind of a bitter feelings towards Airbnb, because it seems like they're definitely helping out guests, but a lot of hosts feel like they're not really doing much to help us as hosts. A lot of hosts are really upset that in some markets Airbnb is literally telling their users to either book a hotel or not to book at all.
Yeah.
So I think the one thing that's going to come out of this is just like exactly like you said, like people are going to realize that we can't always be relying on the OTAs. And so having people developing their own marketing, like whether it's social media, whether it's like emailing your past guests, and also having your direct booking website is something that people are going to be looking for in the near future.
Yeah, 100%, and they should be. And it shouldn't have taken in a situation like this for that to happen. But you got to take the good from it. And yeah, I guess at this time, another suggestion I always make is just be creative. Try to come up with ideas that people aren't doing. Like, for example, a small thing like offer a full fridge, offer like a full fridge upon arrival. Like, do the shopping for them. If somebody's really scared and they need an Airbnb, they don't want to go outside the Airbnb at all the second they check in, offer them a package and mark it up a little bit, make some extra money or revenue on the side, and fill the fridge with all their basic needs for 2 weeks. And that's just one tactic of just how to be creative, how to stick out in your specific market.
100%, man. 100%. Absolutely. This is the time to hustle. It's the time to think outside of the box. And that's also one thing that we will take away from all of this is that we have to be creative. We have to, like I said, think outside of the box. We have to hustle. We really have to push ourselves to, to keep our business alive. And I think, in the future we'll look back on this crisis and we'll realize that we grew stronger through it, right? Because whenever you're pushed to really outperform, to really be creative and everything, that's when you're also learning, right? So I think we're all going to grow as hosts. We're going to grow as people, as persons, right? So that's a positive way to look at things. And I think right now that's what we need, right? We need a little bit of positivity because it's so easy to get depressed right now. I mean, you look at any news site. I scan all the Facebook groups in our community to see what people are talking about, to see what advice people have and all of that. And there's, you find some good advice, but you kind of have to, put a shell around you, a filter for what information am I going to take in and what I'm going to just let bounce off me, because there's so much negativity, there's so much bitching, complaining, like,
100%.
There's people get into arguments, people get taking things really, really personal and get emotional with each other, start fighting and all that kind of stuff. So, we have to really filter and not let that negativity come inside of us, because then it's going to affect us, and that's going to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We need to step up right now, right? We need to take action.
For sure.
And
shit has hit the fan, and you're seeing a lot of childish, people, like you said, bitching and arguing. Like, you can only control what you can control, and you got to keep that mindset and just, stay optimistic. Good things will come. But for you to argue
100%.
with someone else about what they're doing is just, I think, doing more bad than doing more harm than good, and that's not helping anybody. So I would, what I'm trying to do, what's important to me is be transparent with my guests, be transparent with the host, be transparent with the landlords I partner with. Be responsible to the community. Don't put people in jeopardy. If you think that your property is not a good place for someone to quarantine, then take it off. Find other ways to market it, or maybe just take it off for a month and work on it, and just do what's best for you and your community. I think right now it's more important to get through it together rather than make the extra buck. And I think the people that put that in their forefront and are going to come out on top. So I'm staying optimistic, but definitely planning for worst case scenarios as well, from a business standpoint. And I think, like I said, I'm staying optimistic. So I'm feeling,
sure.
I'm hopefully things will clear out pretty soon, but definitely stay safe and healthy is most important.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. I'd say we have to be realistic, but we also have to see the light at the end of the tunnel, see the opportunity, and keep a positive mindset, right? But that doesn't mean like we have to, we don't have to put a blind eye towards what's actually happening, right? So yeah, man. I think you got the right attitude, you got the right mindset. There's no point wasting energy on anything that's outside of our control. I love the Stoic philosophers. I don't know if you heard of them. There's a great book written by Ryan Holiday, which is called the 365, the Daily Stoic. It's called the Daily Stoic.
The Daily Stoic, cool. I'll look into it.
Yeah, it has a Stoic message every single day for a year, and so I find it really inspirational, because we need to, especially in times like this, we need to remind ourselves these lessons that actually came from the Greek and the Latin, the Roman philosophers, right? Where there's Marcus Aurelius, and there's a couple of them, and these guys came up with these knowledge like 2,000 years ago, and it's fascinating how that stuff is still super, super true. But we just tend to forget it because we're so caught up in our lives and everything that happens around us that we forget those important lessons, right? And so that's one of my favorites is focus purely on what's inside of your control, and have gratitude for anything that comes your way is another one that I just really love. Because it encourages us to seek the gift in anything, right? And right now it's hard to see those gifts, but I think we have to be disciplined and try and look for those that positivity, because that's going to empower us to
Yeah,
like we
100%.
talked about, grow
I heard
stronger. And
sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
go for it. No, go for it. I'm just yeah.
I heard a term. I heard a term for the first time yesterday. It's called pronoia, and it's the opposite of
Pronoia.
paranoia.
Oh
And
wow.
basically, what it means is that like you think the world, you think everything is conspiring to actually help you. And I think,
Ah,
like you said, just
that's
keeping a
awesome.
positive mindset is it's the only
Right.
thing you can control, really. So it's important for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, with that, let's end it with a Tony Robbins quote, which is "Life happens for you, not to you." Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
it. Awesome, man.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
I
thanks,
really
thanks for having me
appreciate.
on, Jasper.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. I think you made some amazing suggestions. It's great to see how you're handling all of that. I'm sure that's an inspiration to a lot of people. Appreciate you being part of our inner circle as well. It's just really awesome to have so many people that have this similar mindset. I think that's what we all share in our inner circle is a similar mindset, right? And that's really important right now. So appreciate you coming on. And we'll see you tomorrow on our
Yeah,
call.
sounds good. Yeah, appreciate the content you guys are putting out and for being there for us at this time, and we'll get it through together.
Absolutely. And for the people that are watching, for the people that are listening on the podcast, we're going to be doing these lives every Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. PST. So you can watch us live in the Airbnb Profit Club. But obviously, the podcasts are all going to be published through the regular channels. They're going to be on YouTube as well. So they're on Spotify. So you have lots of ways to consume this information. But I thought it'd be really fun for everybody to be able to actually see us live and see the recording on YouTube. So instead of just listening to voices, you can actually watch our faces. But if you want to listen, if you don't want to see us, you can still you can just still turn it on and listen to the audio, right? So giving people different options to consume all this information. If you want to stay updated on what we're doing, because we're doing a lot right now, me and Eric, just make sure you're on our email list. You can sign up at getpaidforyourpad.com. Join the Airbnb Profit Club. That's where we're streaming these podcasts live. And I'm sure we're doing a lot of other things, but we're doing so much I can't keep up. We have a whole calendar that we're building out. But also, we're coming out with the Corona Survival Kit. It's a big document. It's like 40 pages. It's basically, it has everything that we've learned over the last couple of weeks in there. So go ahead and watch your emails. We're going to send out an email today. So with that, thank you, Tom, for coming on. And thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for people that are watching right now live in the Airbnb Profit Club. We'll be back on Thursday with another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jasper. Take care, everyone.